I ran for president to fundamentally change things, to make sure our economy works for everyone, so we can all feel that pride in what we do. To build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. Because when the middle class does well, the poor have a ladder up, and the wealthy still do very well. We all do well.
The bottom up and the middle out. I mean, I know some speechwriter thought that sounded good, but in reality, that is not happening for the American people. So there's definitely a disconnect between what the president had to say last night and what Big Mama and Big Papa are feeling in hoods all over this country, whether they're rural hoods, urban hoods, or suburban hoods. This dog, as they say in the South, just don't hunt. And I'm finding myself agreeing with a former Republican Congressman, Joe Walsh, who tweeted this last night. I'm with him. I'll say it again. These speeches are stupid, pointless theater. Biden takes a shot at Republicans, MSNBC, and the left cheers. Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene shout liar, Fox and the right cheers. And to what end? Each side shouts to their own fans, but this advances what? You know what, Congressman Walsh, you are absolutely right. What does it advance other than each side receiving some brownie points from the people who are already on their side in the first place? The question becomes, whose side are these policymakers really on? And one of the major ways that we can determine that as an American people is by the policies. Follow the money, not the rhetoric, baby. Follow the money. So the everyday people of this nation, they're just losing. And let's take a look at some of the key quality of life variables that prove that out based on what the president said and what is actually happened. Let's take a look at this, the president on healthcare or drug costs, pharmaceuticals. Take a look.
Fentanyl is killing more than 70,000 Americans a year. You got it.
Now they're out there booing, and the Republicans saying it's your fault, your fault. No, actually, Republicans, it's the pharmaceutical industry's fault, which makes it your fault because you're in the Congress. You and the president of the United States of America can do something about this because you can change the rules of the game. But have you done that? No, absolutely you have not. This is what my stunt double had to say about this foolishness and mayhem. Is actually the fault of Big Pharma pushing opioids into every community, creating a dependency issue. That's whose fault it is. And they're making mega, and can I just say mega one more time, profits off of the suffering, the backs, the deaths, literally, of the American people. And you got these Congress people who are paid $175,000 a year who could take an off day whenever they want. They got paid sick time, paid family leave. Sitting up there acting like they're powerless. The American people should be booing. And furthermore, on the economy, let's play what the president had to say last night.
I know a lot of you always kid me for always quoting my dad, but my dad used to say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. He really would say this. It's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's gonna be okay, and mean it. We're not finished yet by any stretch of the imagination, but unemployment rate is at 3.4%, a 50-year low. Near record unemployment for Black and Hispanic workers. We've already created, your help, 800,000 good paying manufacturing jobs, the fastest growth in 40 years.
I do agree with the president that a job should be about respect and dignity, but that is not happening at all. Let's take a look at what my stunt double had to say about this. She had a lot to say. Good morning. 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And the way we fix that is by strengthening labor unions. Those are the facts. And speaking of strengthening labor unions and the president saying that a job is about dignity and respect, how can you have dignity or respect when you can't even get one, and I mean one, paid sick day? Let's see what the president put up this morning. Had me scratching my head, Jackson. I'm sick and tired of companies breaking the law to keep workers from organizing. Pass the PRO Act because workers have a right to form a union, and let's guarantee all workers a living wage. You know what? I'm sick and tired too. I'm with him on that. But I am old enough to remember when this president and the 117th Congress took away the right to strike from rail workers. Is anybody out there in the audience old enough to remember that? I know I am, because this just happened a few months ago. It just happened. And so for the president to tweet something like this, to me, it just shows the total disconnect between him, those members of Congress, and that bubble that they call Washington, D.C. He had the pure, unadulterated gall. As my grandmother would say, more nerd than a brass A monkey. That's what grandma would say. Y'all can fill in the A. You know what I'm talking about. To tweet this as if they are powerless. The PRO Act could have and should have passed in the 117th General Assembly when Democrats had both chambers. That's what it should have happened. Guaranteeing workers a living wage. I am all for it. How about we start with increasing the federal minimum wage? There was an opportunity to do that over the last 2 years in the 117th General Assembly. But Jackson, they absolutely did nothing and then blamed it on the parliamentarian. I mean, the chick's role, it's a woman. If it was a dude, I'd say dude, but her role is advisory. The Congress does not have to accept her opinion on a thing. They can let it go. But they couldn't even raise the federal minimum wage from $7.75 to $15. And the president tweeted this stuff this morning as if he has no power. Jackson, I'm just.
Well, I think definitely, what Joe Walsh said about the State of the Union addresses is definitely true. It's pretty much the same thing every time. Like it's performative for both parties. Whoever's in the administration, they float out whatever their accomplishments are, or lack thereof, and then the party stands up and claps, and the other one boos. But you pointed out several really important things about Joe Biden, and before I list them out, the Democrats' saving grace continues to be how disorganized the Republican Party is. That's the only thing that's really saving them, because there's something to be said about, yeah, you throw people bones, but failing on promises. There's really something to be said about that, about how that makes people feel, how it impacts people's support, how it impacts people's loyalty to you. So you can say, oh, Republicans are bad, and yeah, Republicans are objectively more corporate and right wing in a variety of ways that are more damaging to the middle class. But you are the ones who, for instance, like Joe Biden, we didn't show the clip, but he was saying how, we're not going to touch Social Security. But Joe Biden has many times tried to go after Social Security.
Hello, really, somebody.
Most of what Joe Biden does positive for the middle class is because he's been pushed very heavily by public pressure in that direction. Because Joe Biden is very conservative. And I think one of the most telling parts of the whole State of the Union that we didn't show is when Biden brought up Social Security. And he was like, now Republicans want to cut it. And then he made sure to say, I know not all of you want to do it. I'm not saying that. And that just shows that he's, how much he's not going to fight, how much he's not going to go after. He fell short on many things. And the reality is whether Democrats or Republicans are in office, statistics can always be thrown out in some type of way to make it look good. You can say we got a whole lot of new jobs, but those jobs suck and they don't pay and people don't stay there. But you don't have to say that, So it really is just a big fluff show. But yeah, I mean, Joe Biden, again, the most telling part to me is when he wasn't quite willing to fully say that the Republicans want to cut Social Security. He made sure to say, now, not all of you now. I'm not saying all of you.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, because he's still pushing this bipartisanship. And remember also in the State of the Union, he said, I don't want to name names. I want to be polite. Hell, time out for being polite.
Exactly.
If these folks, these dudes and chicks on the Republican side want to cut Social Security, it is time over for being polite. Name names. Let's call the roll. Let the American people, want the elders of this country to know who's coming for their Social Security. Because this is war, domestic war on the American people to even think about touching Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid, but especially Social Security. So the bottom line is that unemployment is not the only indicator, it's not the only measure. And Jackson, as you were laying out, what type of jobs do people have? What difference does it make if you have a job and you're not making a living wage? And you have to work several jobs to make ends meet so that your quality of life is diminished like hell. What difference does it make when you can't meet your rent or your mortgage, or you can't buy gas, or you can't afford eggs when the chicken wings are cheaper than the eggs? What difference does it make about the unemployment rate? What difference does it make if you have a job, but you don't have paid sick leave or paid family leave? What difference does it make? What difference does it make if you have a job and you don't have good health care plan? You're either uninsured or underinsured. What difference does it make about the unemployment rate going down? See, that is the part that President Joseph Biden missed last night, and all of them Democrats jumping up to clap like robots when Big Mama and Big Papa are catching holy hell in these streets. That's what we talking about. That's what Jackson and I talking about. We're not talking about the pump, and the circumstances. We talking about the hell that people are catching in these streets. These people are disconnected. They disconnected. They don't live, they don't understand the realities in the streets because they in the bubble. So my stunt double had something to say about this, as she usually does. Let's say what she said. The state of the union matters, but baby, the state of the streets matter more. Can I get an amen? Can I get a hello somebody in the comments today? The state of the union matters, but the state of the streets matter more. 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, irrefutable, barely able to afford rent and groceries, all while unemployment is down and corporate profits are up. That's the sign of a rigged economy. Because from the pandemic to this very moment, these mega corporations have been making mad Skrilla, while everybody else is barely scraping by. And then you got these folks jumping up and down and clapping. Something wrong with these folks.